Yeah, and welcome to another video. I am Brett Papa, and today I'm super freaking pumped. My buddies at Xact Tone Solutions, the premier pedalboard rack maker, pedal maker for that matter, in Nashville, has decided to help me create a fully pro pedalboard to give to one of you out there. Now, to be entered in the, what is it like? Contest? It's not a contest, just to be entered to win. Click the link in the description box below. Make sure you follow all the instructions. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think you get like extra points if you like share the link with friends. I don't know. Check it out down below in the description box. It'll give you all the details. So the pedal board itself is awesome. Super, super pumped. What I tried to do is make this a total gig worthy pedal board with a couple awesome distortions on there, something that's like an EQ pedal. I had to put a line 6, pedal of some kind. Every single person in Nashville, session guy or touring guy, has like an M9 or an M5 on their board. So I slapped one of those on there. And then also TC Electronics did some, delay and reverb action. Those are really cool pedals too, because you can download presets from the internet, which is awesome stuff, like from like Dan Huff and all these killer pros, like awesome delay patches and such. So anyways, we'll go through all of that later. I'll give you some sound examples later. But what we're going to do is show you the whole pedal board process, the interview they take you through when they are going to build a board for you. I mean, stuff like I never would have thought of. They're like, what's your dominant foot? I'm like, dominant foot? What are you talking? What foot do you use to press on pedals? I was like, oh, right. So stuff like that. And then also they asked me if do you want like an insert point where you could stick a random pedal in if you got a pedal that you like and you want to put it in the chain somewhere. So all these, things I had to think about. You're going to see the whole interview process in the video. And then following that, I'll go through some of the sounds of the boards. I'm super, super pumped. Again, thank you so much to Xact Tone Solutions and also True Tone for providing the pedal power for us. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Check out the video. And then at the end, we'll get into how the board actually sounds. All right, welcome. I'm here with the guys at Xact Tone Solutions, and I'm really freaking stoked. See, Greg's in the back. Say hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
And we're going to build a pedal board of your guys' pedals that we're gonna give away.
Yeah.
So I'm freaking pumped.
Yeah.
So what's the whole process like? Walk me through as if I've never been here before and I want a pedal board built.
Cool. Well, I think it's cool.
It's cool.
It is. Good. Well, at least somebody else does. That's one other person. You don't necessarily have to know very much about what you want to do.
Right.
I mean, you brought in pedals here that you want to use, and that's great, and most people do that. But we've gotten the call to do stuff where a guy just sends a track listing.
Yeah.
Here's the sounds that I want to do.
Interesting.
So you can do it all from, I've got this all planned out. I've got my layout.
Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of the guys, by the time they come to us, because it is a big investment, they kind of don't want to leave anything to chance.
Right. For sure.
And so if they know exactly what they want, we welcome that. And then it's also kind of fun to just kind of have, we'll just do what you would do.
Free range.
Yours. Yeah. So
nice.
So what you've done here is a very typical starting point. You don't have a board like a pedal train frame or something like that you want to build on. So gives us some kind of flexibility to figure out, more than just what's going on there, but what physical form factor does it need to be?
Yeah. Which is nice because it's a little tight board.
Yeah. And so the process, it kind of goes, there's a bunch of questions. So it's like, if you had been using these, I'd ask you, what don't you like about these, or where have you been having problems or stuff like that? Because we want to make sure that gets fixed. In this thing, and so you've got the players. We kind of need to figure out what order you want, and then physically, how do we need to lay it out? So we can just start there. So you've got dirt boxes, and we're using some of ours here that you've picked out. And then we have this M5 and the TC delay and reverb. So what kind of order do you typically do?
I usually do drives, or if I have a fuzz first, then drives, then boost, then modulation, And then I think I typically go reverb, then delay. But I'm not married to...
Yeah, you can do that.
I know some people like doing that, or the other way too. So what do you guys think is better? What's the...
Well, Eric, why don't you weigh in on that?
It's kind of to your taste, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Typically, we'd put reverb afterwards, because if you think about if you're in a big hall and you have a guitar rig without reverb in it, you're reverbing your guitar and all the delayed sounds.
Okay.
The delay of the guitar.
Right.
Which is kind of natural acoustic way that the world works.
Yeah.
But, because you can't really delay a reverb sound in reality or in real life, but you can do it with guitar effects. And it can be cool. It makes it kind of washier and more fun.
And more of an ambient kind of thing. I think we had a guy who did a rig and he insisted on reverb before delay. And I had not really done it that much, but the cool thing about it is when you sort of delay the reverb or delay the room, the hall, the whatever, it does this big smeary thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think the way Eric put it is great. This order is more naturalistic.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, and probably just as the numbers go, the vast majority
would do it
of people would probably do it
this
way. So if this board was for you, I would say, let's do what you're used to.
Yeah. Well, I typically, because I don't use a lot of reverb, so like I simulate like what a spring reverb would be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I'm echoing that since I use so little of it.
Yeah,
but that makes sense the other way around.
And that brings up a great point. If you don't stack them,
it
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you've never turned on reverb and unless you weren't doing anything else, you could put it at the front of the chain.
Right.
Right? Which would be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But if everything else is off and the only thing on is reverb, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're kind of going for mass consumption or lowest common denominator, which is probably a more pejorative way to put it, if this board is for dummies, then do this one.
Not real sophisticated.
Yes, but this is definitely the more traditional way, and I think most people, when they intuit what should the order be, is typically what you said.
Yeah.
Fuzz, dirts, boost, kind of pre or poster,
depending
on what you want to do, modulation, and then the one exception to what you said that would be typical would be delay.
Yeah.
Then verb.
So you're putting your typical guitar sound into a space.
Right.
However big you want to make it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now you've got sort of a monkey wrench here with this M5.
All right.
Because it does so much.
That's right.
What do you use it for?
I think, well, I like all the stuff in it, but I typically will use it for like the tri-chorus or like the mod effects, just because I don't want a bunch of different...
Like trim and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually do really like the delay in that one too. So I was thinking the cool thing would be, I know some people like to do that kind of edge thing where they'll set one delay at one, was it quarter note, the other one's at a, whatever that, dotted eighth or whatever.
Yep.
And you get really cool delay sounds that way. So
yeah.
I think it might be kind of cool to have two delays on one board, but.
Sure. Well, these pedals are great for that thing because they do so much stuff. And even with the advent of the Helix and the HX Stomp and the HX effects, a lot of our Nashville guys, like the creme de la creme guys, are still on the M series.
They're so good.
Because they're really good. They're really good. And so having that sort of here kind of leaves it, if this was the order, and I think based on what you said, it would probably be something like that.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
So that it would be
totally
jerks of increasing attitude and then a boost.
Yeah.
And so this could be, this position physically and signal flow wise makes sense for modulation.
Okay.
It makes sense for delay. And if somebody wanted to do a really smarmy ambient thing, you could set up a reverb in here and delay it.
Oh, see? There you go.
So that's with the H9, with these multi-effects that do a lot of stuff, it can be tricky to find like where's the right place to put it.
Yeah.
Now the H9 kind of gives you an escape hatch because it has the ability to run pre or post.
Really?
Depending on how you patch it. Yeah.
I did not know that.
If you don't have to run it stereo, you can reappropriate those inputs too. So you could move it in front or behind.
Pre or post,
But this is a simpler device, doesn't allow it, so you kind of just have to pick.
That'd be killer for like Van Halen kind of stuff where you want the effects first.
Yeah, because that if you were going to use this for a Van Halen-y phaser or for Univibe sound, you might be tempted to put it
before
in
the dirt. Yeah. Interesting.
Or if you're going to use
keep
it for
that in
fuzzy
mind.
stuff. So yeah, but again,
next board.
If this is the numbers game,
right?
This is a very meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll leave you sort of wanting.
Yeah, and I just figured with this setup, especially with the shape charger, you could kind of go into any situation and be able to dial in a sound that you like.
Sure.
Anyway, since that does such a good job of, bending frequencies.
Sure.
If you set it up to do that. So
the other thing is that we would typically ask is what's the backline, or in this particular case, what sort of backline should we be able to accommodate?
Yeah.
Should it do stereo?
Yeah, I don't ever use stereo. I mean, the pedals will do stereo.
Yeah.
So I guess that's up to them if they want to do it or not. But I'm kind of a one-trick pony. One amp's good for me. I mean, in a perfect world, it'd be great, but I know a majority of people don't do stereo rigs. So
we've had a lot of guys who like, I got to have stereo. And
must have a roadie.
This is a waste of time if it's not stereo.
Yeah.
And then you ask them in a year if they've ever run the thing stereo. They're like, no, not yet.
No, exactly.
But then other guys, that is their thing. And
I mean, if I had rack stuff going in or something like that, absolutely, that'd be cool. But a wet dry rig. But I mean, I was thinking just 90% of Earth is going to just have some sort of bare bones. Like this will get you through whatever kind of bar gig you would want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So if we're not running stereo, you could just plug into the first pedal, plug the guitar into the first pedal, and then come out of the last pedal to the amp.
Okay.
Which would mean that you don't need an interface. But if you did an interface, we could add some stuff to the board.
Well, you were mentioning too about having a little spot like here, where you could have a little box that allowed you to put something else in if you wanted to kind of...
It could be nice to have a spot in the middle of the board to be able to plug something else in without having to... If you're set up like this or something.
Yeah.
And you say, I'd like to put something between these two, but then there's a pedal here. I don't want to have to take that off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if we put...
you mean, what size box?
Maybe a B, probably.
That should be about right.
That's actually probably a pretty decent layout in reality. Maybe we do something like that.
Oh, look at that. Fits like a glove. That's perfect.
And,
So you thinking an insert in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, put an insert in there.
Gotta have something the cool kids would want.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is for a board this small, you're not totally hamstrung or painted into a corner or whatever, because you can put a pedal off to the side. Yeah. And in fact, if we put like a DC through jack on there, it would give power over here, and then you send from the board, return to the board. So that lets you split the board up. If you wanted to put a wah in front of everything, you could lay it off to the side of the board, plug a guitar into it, come out.
Oh, that may be where people would use a volume pedal too, right? Because they go after the drives.
Sweet.
Well, there you go.
Drive pedal.
You can be a pro.
Yeah. And if you were going to add an H9 or something, you could just put it at the end.
Okay, perfect.
Now that does, so we're missing something important here, and that's power.
Okay. What do you guys like?
There's a class of power supplies that I think are becoming more and more standard, and that's these. I call them hybrid. They're switch mode and linear at the same time.
Okay, what's switch mode?
It's a
like different voltages, or?
Yeah, well, it's the way that it works. Instead of having a big piece of iron to transform the voltage down, it uses electronics to do it. And like usually like the cheapo supplies that come with consumer electronics, they're mostly switch mode because they're way more efficient too. So
your
best
little
of
iPhone
worlds.
Charger, the little white switch mode.
Okay.
Yeah. So the good thing about that is it does big power in a relatively small package. Right. Which, this is kind of a pig, but
is it?
But like Timeline, H9, the Source Audio stuff, all these pedals with all these big DSP engines in them are just drawing more and more.
Is that like 400 milliamp or whatever?
Exactly.
Okay. All right,
exactly. So the Strymon stuff is sort of that hybrid tech. The True Tone stuff is, we use a lot of the True Tone stuff here because it's got a great price point, and the feature set is really good. And for a board this size, you suppose that 7 would work, Aaron?
Yeah. I grabbed the 7 earlier. I think that would probably work.
Yeah.
Probably just pop it there even.
Yeah. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we could take that 7th one out.
Splitter. Okay.
So it would give you power
Nice.
available on that as far as that insert goes.
Okay. Now, would these run all those different kinds of pedals too? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple caveats, like the HX Stomp, the HX effects. We would take 2 of these ports and do the current leveling thing, which
where you put 2 into one, kind of a Y thing or whatever.
Yep. So that they can share the load. But aside from that, it's fairly simple. There's some adapting things that you have to do sometime, but these I know come with a bunch of adapters so that you can make stuff. So that you can make stuff go.
Nice.
So those are kind of all the players. Like, does this layout make sense to you?
Totally.
Okay, so the things typically we ask when it comes to layout is like, are you right-footed?
Right.
Are you left-footed? Do you know?
I ride a skateboard this way. I would say right foot. Yeah. Yeah.
And so you kind of want to bias things
goofy foot
towards your strong foot.
Okay.
So, you've got the first row is right.
Do people ever request it the other way?
Yes.
Do they really?
Yeah, Johnny Lang's board is backwards.
So the drives are on the other side.
The stuff that he wants right now is on the left side.
So, because I can imagine singing, you just want to be able to
So for frontmen, sometimes their volume pedals are on the left side because that board's going to be sitting here.
Yeah.
Mic stand here, and they don't want to. They're not going to lean all the way over there. So there's that consideration, and then there's whether you're left-footed or not.
Yeah.
Will depend. But the stuff that you want, there's kind of 2 classes. There's the stuff that you need to access all the time. Yeah. Which might be like dirts on and off and stuff like that. Right. And then there's the things that when you need to access them, you need them right now. Yeah. So that might be, this boost, even if you didn't use it much as far as the number of times. Yeah. When you do want it, you want it fast. Yeah, right there. So you might pull it forward. Yeah. Move it toward your strong. Okay. Side, whether that be left. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. But wow, you guys are thorough. We try to be. We try to be. Unfortunately, each one of these, if anybody gives you like a nugget of truth, it's like based in pain. Right? This is all wrong. That's right. Feels wrong. We screwed this up. So that's basically what you're paying for here. We've screwed up everything enough that we. So now all you provide is a nice soft pellet to land in. That's right. All right. Sweet. So you have access to this, like even something as simple as that is probably better than this because now you can sort of blindly you can have the bulk of your foot over here as opposed to trying to very carefully kind of get it right there. So even just little things plus it makes sense if you plug your guitar in there too. That's probably even more important in this scenario. Sweet. So so if this doesn't have the input on it, you definitely that would be a good place to plug in the guitar. Sweet. Let's freaking do it. Let's do it. I didn't properly introduce you, by the way. I'm very sorry. This is Eric, everybody. Hi, all. Just ripping guitarist extraordinary. Do you ever program people's boards for them? Yeah. You do? Nice. Like, just they give you like, I want it to sound like this, and you're like, do your magic.
Yeah, it's a little tricky if you have a different rig. Yeah. And then also, I'm sure I play different than other people. So there's you do. There's a fine ripping line guitar player here of what you can get away with. Yeah. There was a client wanted that, and he said, I want my board to sound like this.
Right, good luck.
So we said, what type of guitar and amp do you have? Right. And we found some stuff here that was close, and
Yeah.
I made it so it sounded kind of like that when I played. I don't know that he plays the way I do.
Right. People forget that part. I think you can get a bunch of pedals and you're just going to sound like a rock god.
Yeah.
You still got to be able to.
I've got a pile of about 10 picks over here, and they all sound a little bit different.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
who knows what type of pick he used? Or
How is the 80s rig, bro? That little 80s rig you guys had in here like 2 weeks ago was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that thing is dope.
We need to bring back racks. I saw this. I think RJ did a video on 80s racks, and it's like you start seeing all the stuff again, and you're like, yeah, that stuff did sound really good. Like I think it's maybe let's expand back into the other way again.
I mean, that rack was only yay big,
but it was so good.
Oh yeah,
racks. If you're young and haven't ever experienced like what was in that thing, it was like a 3000 and PCM 70 or whatever Lexicon. It's a special thing.
TC 2290. I think.
Awesome. Okay, what do we got going on?
Well, this is done.
Okay.
It's all wired up here.
Can we see it? Yeah, we can see it. Okay.
Cables are such that if you want to put a different pedal of a similar form factor, there's probably enough to get to it.
Yeah.
That's something we always try to do because nobody wants to say, this is the only drive pedal I'll ever use.
Yeah.
No.
It never is.
Within a year, you're going to say, oh, I have a new one that I love. I would like to put it on there.
Has anybody ever come back with the same exact things on their board? I mean, it's got to be rare.
There's a board. That one we made 3 or 4 years ago, and the guy finally said, all right, I'm tired of these pedals. I want some new ones.
Wow, here's the last guy hanging on.
So it depends.
Yeah.
Most people sort of have a couple that they always are going to love.
Right, some standards.
Some others you
okay, so Imperial first.
Yeah, Imperial's up here.
Plug into that.
Input is up here.
Okay.
And
check this out.
Here's our little box underneath, our little insert box. Send out to a pedal, come back from it. There is a 9 volts power here for it.
Dude.
And it's on one of the fat ports if you're the 500, so you can plug a H9 or whatever you want out there.
Dude, that is awesome.
With the adapters that this thing comes with.
Okay.
It's all labeled here, what goes into where.
Off?
Yeah.
Like
Hall of Fame. I always try, if I can, to come up with 3-letter names for the pedals. Some of them work better than others.
What'd you do for the shape charger?
The overdrive. These two are sharing a port, so they're they're together.
Right. Okay, so from here to here to here, insert would go in between these two.
Yep.
And away you go.
And you're out, yeah.
Dude. Cannot wait. You guys are gonna this is gonna be amazing.
So it's a very cool board.
Yeah. This tonic. All the pedals are great, but that tonic is a real thing.
I feel like I can talk about this because this was all Greg and Barry that made it, and I love it.
Yeah. It is one of my favorite pedals I've ever played.
Yeah. I didn't even play it till they were done with it. So I feel like I can.
I turned it on and started laughing. I was like,
it's very satisfying.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, thank you, Eric. That was awesome.
Hey.
And whoever gets it out there, you're going to freaking love it. All right, so let's go over the pedals first. Number 1 in the chain, you have the Imperial Overdrive. That's a very natural pedal that's very reminiscent of the Noble's ODR1. It's like the most used pedal in Nashville. It's a very, it's like you always hear amp in a box. Very much that pedal. Awesome, awesome pedal. But this one, I had an ODR1, and I actually like this pedal better. To me, it's like a more refined, updated version. Now, it's just personal preference, but I don't know. I loved this pedal. It's the first pedal I ever had from them, and it just always worked. Back in the day, people used to always ask me back when I had like the blue background video and all that stuff, what pedal are you using? And like 80% of the time, it would be this Imperial Overdrive. It's just amazing. Now the Tonic is a new limited edition pedal. I don't even know if you can get them anymore, but I really liked, like Scott Henderson and Michael Landau. They have this really awesome sound, and they all use this, I think it was like a Maxon tube screamer pedal, but there's always inherently issues with that pedal, and it was like very temperamental and whatever. So this is kind of another one of their takes on a great pedal, but man, I tell you what, it has definitely become one of my all-time favorite pedals. It's very like mid tube screamery, but I hate tube screamers, but it's like a way better version of a tube screamer, in my opinion. I've got a lot of pedal opinions. The Shape Charger is another one of their pedals, and I've seen this start to pop up on more and more session guys' board. It's a very good shaping tool. So say you have one amp, but you kind of want it to sound like something else, or you want to accentuate more mids for a solo, or maybe you got too much of something and you want to take stuff out. It's a great pedal for that. Now you got to check their website because it also has one of these fancy new switches on it where you can like press it down and it enters different modes of the pedal. So you can also like cut the pedal in half, right? And just use one side or the other. So make sure you download the manual and check that out as well. Awesome pedal. The M5, there is a Line 6 pedal of some sort on every session guy board in town, hands down. Like whether it's here or LA, right? So like Bukovac, Rob McNally, Kenny Greenberg, Tim Pierce in LA, every single big session dude has either an M5, a M9, or one of the new HX pedals, right? Because they're just like the ultimate utility Swiss Army knife of effects. And then these TC Electronics pedals, 2 reasons I picked these. They sound fantastic, but they also have downloadable sounds on the internet, which is cool. So you can get their tone prints if you want to do that. But they're also small, right? Like I love the Strymon stuff and all that stuff. They sound fantastic, but they're big. The whole idea behind this board was to make something compact, small, and very, very usable. All right. And they're very like, some of the Strymon stuff, I love it, but like, it's like, oh man, how do you get through these parameters? Then you got to like scroll through like 50 parameters. These are like, you want a plate verb? There's the plate verb. How much delay, decay? It's very simple, very easy to use pedals if you're not like super tweaker on the, pedal department. Okay, so, and then of course, we got a one spot, awesome power supply. Guys at True Tone are amazing. Thanks, Zach. You're awesome. Okay, so sounds. This is a divided by 13 JRT 915, also on loan to me from Xact Tone Solutions. Greg, you're awesome. Thank you. You're never getting your amp back. It is on the EL84. So that's the amp by itself. It is going into an aux with a 412 cabinet simulation. It's the 412 punch. And then I have it in the low gain input jack. And that's our sound. Okay, so for the Imperial Overdrive, let's start with kind of a mellow setting. So it can be very clear. Just very natural sounding overdrive. But it also has tons of gain on tap. And it has a little dynamic switch here. I think that just messes with the like how compressed the pedal sounds. Ugh, love this pedal. Okay, so that is the Imperial, the tonic. Okay, so see how the amp is very kind of organic and nothing really poking out too much. And this adds like mid. But still, Lots of clarity, right? The tone, very responsive. Alright, so there's lots, and as you increase this, you'll hear that gain, bass and such. I like this for like a lead pedal. If I give ourselves a little verb and ah, sounds so good. Sounds great when you like turn down the volume too. Woo! Fire! Okay, and the shape charger, check this out. So earlier, I had it on this neck pickup and it was kind of woofy sounding, right? So you can take some of that out. So check this out. So, right, this is the amount of gain. It lets you set an amount of gain like in that certain mid-frequency range. You can pick your range of frequency, and then this is like a mid button to get really zeroed in on the type of mids that you want. So if I go up here, now check it out. So I can take some of that out, right? Maybe I want it to be like, versus, see how it's very like woofy, and I can take that out. So it's very much like an EQ pedal, but I find like you can just tweak around with it and get some really great tones out of it. You know what I found is really good for is getting like a cool, with a Strat, really good kind of like barky, like David Gilmour kind of tone. You gotta mess with the pedal, it's super, super cool. But all the pedals also work great in conjunction with each other, so you can stack the pedals really well. So like say you wanted a very low amount of overdrive for like a good chunky rhythm sound, you know? But then you wanted to kick into a lead. Get yourself with a little plate. Right? So very, very, very cool in the stacking department. Now, don't know if any of you have ever messed with a Line 6 M5. But they're so awesome. They got great delays. Like, I love the modded delay. The mix is super low. Let me turn it up. So I can turn that down a little bit if it's too much. Right, and so if you hit this button, it switches the effects, right? Now here's the interesting thing. So, if you guys don't know who Dan Huff is, he's like one of the most wicked session guitar players ever. And he did, you know, throughout the 80s and 90s, he was like the session guy. And then as you went into the 90s, 2000s, he became like one of the most well-known country producers and just produced like humongous country music hits. Anyways, long story short, he was in a band called Giant. And everybody dogs on the distortion sounds of these earlier, you know, Line 6 units. Now, you can go, and I think it's in the Basement East in Nashville, a Giant reunion, and he literally takes one of these M9s, which is just like, imagine this M5, but with 3 effects at once. Takes one of those and plays the whole show plugged into a head with one of those, and it sounds like the Giant album. I mean, just the tones are insane. So, don't knock the sounds until you mess with them, the distortion sounds. A lot of guys in town will use the distortions too for like a cool effect. Like say they want that like telephone, like lo-fi effect. You can get a lot of these great tones from the distortion out of this M5. Also, since you have a delay and reverb behind this unit, this can be a distortion, and then, you know, you got your delay and your verb, but you can go through and there's fuzzes, there's all sorts of stuff in here. I had one earlier and it was actually really cool. It was like a fuzz that got me like a pretty wicked tone. Alright, so maybe get the bass up a little bit. Give ourselves a little mid, take the treble down a little bit. I was getting like some Pink Floyd vibe going. I forget how that song goes. Now I had a Strat, so this is not the guitar to demo that, but you get the idea. Cool, tons of fun stuff. There's also like really trippy. Now you can take that mix down. And do like some fun, like funky Ottawa. Lots of stuff like that. Great spring reverb. You know, Tim Pierce uses this all the time for the reverbs. Super, super cool pedal. Flashback is delays. I'm trying to level up a little bit here. Lots of different types of delays. You can do like tape style delays. Say you wanted a little less feedback, a little less level in there. Maybe you wanted some like plate verb. Or, you know, whatever. Like, room. Switch the verbs up, maybe plate. Right, so there's just tons and tons of stuff. The choruses in this M5 are some of my favorite choruses ever. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. If any of you guys saw my video I did on Stone Temple Pilots Plush recently, I used this board. I used this pedal and this tri-chorus, and I probably had some verb on it or something like that, but it nailed the, I'll have to mess with the, it just was killers, STP. But you can mess with the mix and just get killer 80s. Right, you can turn the delay off and get some more like. Anyways, long story, very long. There's nothing you can't really do with the board. I mean, I'm more like a rock and roll guy. Now, maybe like you can't do like gent, like Slipknot stuff, but that's not really my bag anyways. This was more like if you got like say a bar gig or a church gig, or you just want some fun pedals at home to mess around with, but want a legit pro board as well. This thing's built like a tank. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that look at the board. It's insane. It gets tons of killer sounds. I'm just kind of running. I mean, it's like the video would have been 9 hours long if I went through all the sounds and everything that it does. But total flexible board, totally gig worthy, built like a freaking tank. You got room to grow. You can insert a pedal here. There's more power over here. So if you want to plug in like an H9 or some other kind of a pedal, or even like a volume pedal, you know, you want to swell and do all that kind of stuff, there is an insert point right here with a power jack. And there's also more power over here, right? So there's room to grow with the board. This will get you through any gig or anything you got. It's an amazing board, super, super flexible. So make sure you enter to win down below in the description box. Follow those directions to be entered to win. A big shout out to Xact Tone Solutions for building the board, and also to True Tone for the one spot. Both really fantastic companies with awesome, awesome people. Make sure you check them out. Sign up for their social media stuff as well. They are awesome companies. I can't recommend them enough. Great, great, great people. All right, so this is my way of saying thanks to you. There's gonna be more boards coming in the future, different kinds of setup. I might do a Hendrix board and some other stuff coming down the pike. But for now, if you are a person that wants a solid, legit, gig-worthy board, make sure you enter in the contest below. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time.